to another episode of Literary Gladiators, the show where we discuss and debate literature in all of its forms.
Every single one.
It is written work, it's game. Let's meet the panel.
Trevor.
Ari.
Charlie.
And I'm Josh.
And I'm Ari.
Charlie, you seemed a bit down today.
Just kidding.
You do it. Do it.
Do what?
Well, he just did it.
Already.
It's not my next door neighbor's cat.
Except we're not talking about cat, we're talking about fish.
Already. We are going to be going over a work of poetry from a Nobel Prize winning poet in the literature category.
His name is Pablo Neruda.
He's a Chilean poet, and the poem that we're going to be going over from him is Fisherman. And the discussion starter I have for this one is, what does this poem have to say about humans and our relationship with animals?
With animals. Interesting. I'm going to pull myself from going first this time.
Okay.
I'll go first. I read this a couple times last night, but when I saw here, some words I'm going to pull out here. Nude fisherman's art. And yes, this is, as you know, as all of our works, they are subject to spoilers, so please, ferocity, bolt in the fist of the man, let's see what else we got here, shudder in radiance, unpitying flag, and, butterfly in a bloodbath of salt. So I don't know, are these good words?
I think the message, I think that...
Assaults the stricken fish.
With some of the words that you had made mention to, and then some, the message that I got out of it is this. The fisherman sees himself as an almighty, godlike figure to what he believes is his world.
And he can do whatever he wants.
In actuality, the fisherman is just another animal, and a barbaric one at that.
I think I'm going to agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I feel, reading it again, I feel that this is basically like, if let's say I'm the fisherman, I'm basically going to be like, oh, fish are just, things to be caught. They're not actual animals. I think this, if you look at this, if you have a vegetarian read this poem, then you have a non-vegetarian read, someone who doesn't care about animals as much, like a hunter or a fisherman read this poem, you are going to get a very interesting discussion. Because I feel that the vegetarian person would say that the fish is the same as the human, while the hunter would say that the fisherman would say that the fish is lower than the human.
And this poem seems to speak heavily in favor of the vegetarian thinker, because this fisherman...
The way it's opinionated.
The way that the fisherman is painted as being stripped and nude.
That's what I was going to say.
The reason that I see it being naked is because Neruda wants to put it on the same ground as the fisherman in how...
It's not like the fish is going to wear clothes. The fish don't have privileges to wear clothes. If you want the fisherman and the fish to be the same person, then the fish is not have the privilege to wear clothes, then neither should the fisherman, if you're going to be the same.
But then again...
Neruda's putting them on equal footing, because with the sense of... He could have very well given him one of those raincoats.
There is one thing though in this poem that doesn't fit on the fisherman and the fish are the same, because in many ways, if you think about it, the fish is superior, because not only can it breathe underwater, not only is it faster, not only is it able to, some fish are able to swim. There are different species of fish everywhere. So a lot of times, this is just my I love marine biology and stuff like that. So this is just my marine biology side coming out. But I feel that several animals in this world, including like sharks, fish, whales, stuff like that, could be perceived as being superior to the human race.
And it's the way that we classify things too. Because
I kind of started. I remember I had a conversation with Miss Feiner in biology class about how some things...
On or off Red Bull?
I don't remember.
What?
Probably on. But it was a very quiet conversation about how, like, certain species could be perceived as superior to the human race. I remember I got CE'd after that conversation.
You got CE'd because you...
Because I turned it into an argument.
That's teachers for you. They don't like being outsmarted by the students.
And C is also for cookie.
Yeah.
Not CE. I was going to add to what you were saying, though, Ari.
Yeah.
Another way that fish are superior to the humans? Well, look at it this way. The fisherman is trying to use a lance to catch the fish.
Yeah.
How do fish get their food?
They can just eat it.
Exactly. They don't need external tools. We crazy humans
What?
do.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying I need a fishing pole?
We allegedly had our resources are. It's funny. Our resources are mainly our way of thinking, and ironically enough, our way of thinking is the use of tools. But it's interesting how it is how this fisherman is using a lance. It makes him much more. It's prehistoric. You would think that a poem about a fisherman, you would be using something
Like
more
a net or
advanced.
a rod or something.
Or net, rod, fishing pole.
Sitting down, having a
Something
smoke on
more-
fire.
So let us look at the flip side of the coin here, where
Heads or
the
tails?
poem seems to be heading in this direction in the opposite direction, but in this case, let's look at why humans think they're more superior than the fish.
Okay.
And I think in this case, it has a lot to do with the attitude of humans and their view of everything around them. And there are so many people I know in this world, almost everyone to an extent, where the people are like, it's black and white. You're either better than me or you're worse than me. You can't be a mixture of things.
Yeah.
And that's where jealousy comes into play, and arrogance, and what's called subdetermination or whatever. It's despicable. And frankly, I think by having a lot of humans feel that way, it makes catching the fish all the more enjoyable because they feel the fish is inferior.
Right.
And it's
Lines 13 to 14, I think, defend that case best. The bolt in the fist of the man is aimed at a still planet's center.
Mm-hmm.
It almost makes him seem like he's a Zeus-like figure.
Yes.
And
Just pretty godly, too.
And, like I was going to say, it's, as men, we can, and just the human race, we are prone to that, I'm going off what you said as well. So,
So, this is a very good example. It's another very brief Doctor Who reference. There was an episode last year, it's not about fish, but it's the same concept. It's called Heaven Sent, where the Doctor is trying to unlock a door telepathically, like using psychic powers and stuff, and he unlocks it. But when he's unlocking it, he says, how would a door feel You would be really, really upset because everyone would just go through you and not stop to say hello.
That's deep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like since everyone just kind of walks through you and opens you and closes you, sometimes you get slammed, sometimes you get locked, sometimes you get all this stuff, and no one cares because you're just a big white plank.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the same thing here with humans and the fish.
Yeah, I would say that is... it's definitely there's no real... there is definitely a glass wall between them. Humans highly think of themselves as...
Pride. It's pride.
They don't see the fish as being
It's not
equal.
pride, it's just pride.
It's arrogance.
And
but also,
it's beyond an inferior thought. They see them not even as being living creatures. They're resources.
Food.
Mm-hmm.
Going with what you said about the arrogance, I also with pride as well. They go hand in hand. It's like in a way of boasting. It's like I have all of this stuff and nothing can stop me, except the IRS. But I am unstoppable, and then or you're invincible, and it's to the point. You have that God complex, We all are guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. And I'm sure all of us here are guilty of it.
Mm-hmm. But it's just the way society's been brought up. There's nothing you can do about it, so it's become a regular.
Mm-hmm.
Or sorry, a regular.
It's second nature.
Not irregular.
You know, and if we catch, some people they catch themselves doing it, try to stop it. I don't know. That's what I try.
I think my example earlier about how I feel the fish are more superior is a way of deriving of getting rid of that and saying, well, let's look at what this other person can do. It's kind of like the underdog in sports in a way.
Mm-hmm. In this poem, though, it is the human does win because
the human wins, but it doesn't necessarily mean he's the better person.
No, not at all. Neruda is completely.
It's kind of like never mind.
It's completely in favor of the fish because in the eyes of the reader, I think in the eyes of a reader with the right sense of thinking. We feel much more for the fish.
Yeah.
Because we see that the human's a monster. The human is...
You're just stabbing fish with a lens.
I just see some crazy naked dude.
Yeah, exactly. But here's the thing: when we were just cavemen, no one really even knew about that because we were so dumb.
It's.
We were still learning what to do. Do you have anything?
Shall I dare say evolution?
Do you have anything to
You can
say?
say that.
I think we pretty much covered everything.
Final thoughts, anyone?
Real quick, as with the fish, some people have a fish on their wall. That's going to say what I'm going with what you're saying here.
Yeah,
they have it in a bowl. I mean, okay, you want to have a pet fish, fine, but
having a pet fish is better than fishing because you want to, and doing it in such a horrible way.
Yeah, if you want to do it as a relaxation or something like that, but don't.
When people go.
And by the way, just so all your viewers know, we are not doing this poem because any of us are vegetarian or that we want to try and make you vegetarian.
No.
We're just discussing the works as it's laid out by Pablo
And we're
Neruda.
talking about how we see it.
Yeah,
That's
and we're treating it as it's laid out by Pablo Neruda.
It seems like there are people, when they fish, they do three things. It's either one, they eat the fish, two, they release the fish, or three, they hang the fish up like it's a trophy.
And
only
gonna say.
I'd say one of those is reasonable, one of those is required, and one of them is not necessary.
You mean eating it is reasonable?
Releasing it is reasonable.
Yeah.
Eating it is required.
It can
If in a certain situation
it can be
required, and then hanging it up is not necessary.
No, I
That's
agree
what I
with
said.
that.
A doctor of
I
mine,
don't
he
see
has a
why
fish in his
you
office.
can take a picture of yourself with the fish and hang that up on the wall.
Yeah, that's what
Nobody gets
that's what
hurt.
my dad did once.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody gets hurt but the fish does. It's got that lance in its mouth.
Hi, I'm Chuck Testo with Taxidermy.
Oh boy.
And
But otherwise, if you're interested in reading this, I also find it interesting the way this was a poem that was translated from Spanish, since Neruda is Chilean.
That's why I felt some of the words were really big.
It was a bit, the way that it flowed was a bit different, I would say. It's still a very beautiful poem, or it's still very well written.
What you're saying it was translated from Spanish, does that mean his name could still possibly be Nebula?
No.
I'm gonna send you
It
to
wasn't
Nebula.
even his name wasn't actually, he took the name Pablo Neruda after Jan Neruda, who was the Czechoslovakian poet. But I'll have to leave something down below to what Neruda's actual name was.
It was Pablo Nebula. It's like Pablo from Backyard Baseball.
It was not Pablo Neruda.
I can bet your
But-
boots it's not Pablo Picasso
It's
either.
Pablo from Backyard
Yeah,
Baseball.
you're right.
This particular version was translated by Ben Bullitt.
Hold on.
No, it's Ben Bullitt, not Ben Bullitt.
Ben Bellet or Belay, I'm not sure.
No, it's Pablo from Backyard Baseball.
This is a really interesting collection of 5 decades worth of poetry from
50
1925
years.
to 1970.
Is that all Pablo's stuff?
I don't think it's all. I'm not. I don't think it's all of it, but the way it's laid out, on the left it's Spanish, and on the right it's English.
I know of some Hebrew poetry books that do that.
It's quite a nice idea that they do that. I'm more likely to read the English because I'm not well versed in any other language. But
Impossible?
Yeah,
I think that it helps for bilingual readers, especially those that want to read it in the original text.
Wiener Schnitzel. Just kidding.
Which I think I'd be curious to see how it is laid out in
Yeah, it would be
the original tongue.
That would be nice.
Yep.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Literary Gladiators. For now,
Keep
Keep
reading.
reading.
Keep reading.